Did you know that Igbo land has the highest amount of natural gas deposit in West Africa? Well, yes. Imo State in Ndi Igbo boasts of 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, while the 5 core eastern states, including other Igbo areas in the south-south, all boast of having crude oil in large quantities. Now, and it is indeed something to be proud of in a country where we are called a small hole in a dot and meant to believe that we have no natural resources that we bring to the table, or that we have no bargaining power in politics. It's Chukwuemeka Sokwu, and I'd like to welcome you to another interesting and educative episode at Voice of the Sun. Today we will be discussing the availability of natural gas in Igbo land in tremendous quantity, and also we will look at other natural resources we have as Ndi Igbo, especially crude oil, as a means of enlightening our people on how blessed our land is. Or you can say, let us just brag a little. Now, let us take a little history class on oil and gas exploration in Igbo land. Now, majority of our people, Ndi Igbo, don't know this, but oil was first discovered in 1928 at Nguzu in Eda, which is in the present-day Ebonyi state. Now, around this same period, crude oil was also discovered in Ogu, in the present-day Enugu state, and in Anam, in the present-day Anambra state, according to colonial records. Now, crude oil was then discovered in 1937 in Dimezi, in Ikeduru local government area of the present-day Imo state by Shell Petroleum, then known as Shell Dasa. Oil was also found around that time in Egbema, Oguta, and Ohaji in the present-day Imo state. Now, for this, the oil companies established its operational base in Owerri, popularly known as Shell Camp Owerri. But Shell later abandoned the oil wells they found in Imo state, and left for Oloibiri, yes, if I'm correct, in Rivers State, where he claimed to have found oil in large commercial quantities. And this was in 1957. But before Oloibiri in Rivers State, another oil deposit was discovered in 1956 in Ezieda, in the same Eda which is in the present-day Ebonyi state, which is not far from where first oil was first discovered in 1928. Now, between 1952 and 1986, 3 companies, oil companies, namely Shell BP, ELF, which is now Total, and then Ajib Energy, they drilled 25 exploration wells, 2 appraisal wells, and 8 core drill wells under the entire Anambra Basin, which is between Odeke and Aguleri communities. Now, Odeke is in Kogi State, and Anambra is Aguleri is in Anambra State, meaning Kogi State also has crude oil. They are brothers, Anambra. So, but the Anambra Basin is where these companies built a total of around 28 oil wells. Now, while exploration for crude oil were going on in Igbo land, a lot of these oil wells were drilled, especially in the current Imo State axis, and they had high contents of gas deposits, And as at that point, emphasis was laid on crude oil and not gas. So many of the oil wells were capped and were left, or we'll say were abandoned, because gas was not in use then, it was crude oil. So today, Abia State has over 100 crude oil wells in the state. Abia, which is also the 4th largest oil producing state in Nigeria, also has 3 installed flow stations and a gas plant associated with the NNPC. Now, it was gathered that the state produces around 36,000 barrels per day, with 23,000 coming from the Imoturu and the rest coming from other parts of the other oil wells in Abia State. Now, Imo State, in its own abundance, I would say, has around 163 crude oil wells. Now, they are located in Oguta, Egbema, Olu East, Olu West, Iho, Obo, and Ngopala. Anambra State on its own has oil wells in Nzam, Alo, Obo, Amesh, and Enye. Enugu, despite not having any oil wells, is known for her large deposits in coal. Now, the coal in Enugu State is capable of generating constant electricity for 5 African countries for life. Now, the state also has a large deposit of natural gas, which, according to my own findings, might not be tapped at this point in time. Now, Ebonyi State has deposits, despite being one of the largest agricultural economies in West Africa. Ebonyi State also has deposits of mineral resources such as lead, crude oil, and natural gas. Now, this tells you that Igbo land is blessed with natural resources, especially in the crude oil aspect, which is a buzzword for Nigerians. In as much as our politicians siphon all the money, and even after being happy, yeah, they found oil in my village, you guys will remain poor for life. That's how we run. That's how Africa has been run. But we can't stop saying or enumerating the resources we have in our lands, right? So, Imo State, when we come to gas deposits, which is the main reason for this video episode, Imo State holds over 200 trillion cubic feet of gas deposits, which will last for over 50 years, and is currently the highest producer of gas in Nigeria and also in West Africa. Some reports say in Africa, with Algeria coming after Nigeria, but Imo State gives Nigeria that first position. So today, Ndi Igbo have abundant gas deposits, which is fully explored in Ohaji, Egbema, in the Ohaji Egbema local government, in a place called Assa, right? And then with the untapped natural gas we have in Enugwu and Ebonyi, we can say that almost all states in Igbo land have the potential to possess gas deposits, since all Igbo states and regions have communities that have crude oil. And with my little knowledge of geography, wherever you find coal, you will find crude oil around. Wherever you find crude oil around, you find gas. These three, I'll call them guys. These 3 guys, they operate within the same sphere. So if you find coal in Enugu, you might find gas in Enugu, or you might find oil in Enugu, which is the case. Enugu has coal, or Enugu has crude oil, and Enugu somewhere or some other parts have natural gas. So if Imo State has natural gas, it has crude oil, it will have coal somehow. Anambra has natural gas, it has crude oil. It has crude oil, meaning this natural gas is not far. So in all of this, Igbo land makes Nigeria the African country with the highest amount of natural gas, with Imo State owning over 200 trillion cubic feet out of the 206.53 million cubic feet which Nigeria uses to top the list. So if you remove the 200 trillion cubic feet, what you'll be left with is 0.006 or whatever, trillion. So meaning that Igbo land has the highest amount of gas contributing to the Nigerian economy. Now, what we must now look at as a people is, yes, we have gas. But then how is that gas benefiting the people? Now, first of all, we must look at government. Okay, now the states that have crude oil in Nigeria, let's look at Nigeria as a whole. How have the masses benefited? It now seems as if even the states that have crude oil are among the poorest states, or where funds are more mismanaged. Why? Because the political thieves are more interested in getting into office, because this state is an oil producing state and is entitled to the 13% derivation fund from the federal government. And so more thieves will be interested in getting into power because they will want to get derivation fund, share among them and their cronies, and the people are left to suffer. So is crude oil or gas, I would say, is it a blessing or is it a curse? Because we have oil boom and oil curse. Yes, we have oil and gas boom in Nigeria, but we have also seen oil and gas curse. The environment is degraded to the point where you can't farm, you can't fish, you can't do anything on your land because oil companies are milking the oil and taking away to foreign lands to process, to refine, and then sell to us at expensive amounts. And then subsidy and all of that happens. So, in as much as we say, yes, we have crude oil, we have gas, we are blessed. But how does that blessing show in the life of the people? There are no jobs, no good social amenities, no good roads. But we're saying we're blessed. So we must also, as we are counting our blessings, we must also count our cost, which is our political. Our political elites are the cost of Africa. We must also hold them accountable where we say, okay, the gas, the 200 trillion cubic feet of gas in Imo State will last Nigeria or will last Igbo land. I will say Nigeria because Igbo land is still part of Nigeria. We've not left yet. If it still holds for the next 50-something years, Nigeria will use that gas for the next 50-something years. And if you go to Algeria, they look or go to other countries where they have gas, you see them prospering. Go to Qatar, go to Dubai, go to Saudi Arabia, you see them doing magnificent things with the money. When you come here, we can boast of being one of the biggest economies in crude oil and gas. Still, nothing to show for it. So we must ask that our politicians are prudent with the funds we generate from our oil and gas. And we must ask that the foreign companies who come in to partner with our governments must put the people first. Must make sure that our lands are not degraded to the point where the average farmer whom you did not give his child employment can actually farm and feed himself while his child hustles around for money. You can't take resources from his land, go and make money on it, leave mansions abroad and everywhere in the world. He cannot now farm. He can't eat, meanwhile he has resources under the feet where his ancestors bled and died. So, like I said, we are proud of our natural resources and a few misconceptions in Nigeria that the first oil was first discovered in Oloibiri in River State. In Bayelsa, I'm sorry, at the River State. Pardon me. It's false. Let me just use Oloibiri. It's false. Oil was first discovered in Igbo land in 1928 in Ebonyi State. And discovered in Anambra and in Enugu around that same time before they got to Oloibiri in 1957. In as much as they say the oil they found in Igbo land is not in commercial quantity, but that the one in Oloibiri is in commercial quantity, we all know that oil is oil, yes. Quantity might differ. But there are places where we have oil in Igbo land that the federal government has refused to use, refused to tap, refused to allocate to companies that will come and drill. Why? If you ask me, I don't know. But we hope that things will get better for us as a people, as Ndi Igbo, and for our neighbors too, our brothers and sisters around us, so that around this region of Africa will become a place where we can be proud to say, yes, I have oil and gas, but then things are moving well for me and my family. So yeah, I hope you've learned something today about the resources we have in Igbo land. Till I come your way again, I remain my humble self, Chukandule. So wherever you find this video, please do well to comment on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Share so that this knowledge will spread to our people. And then comment on your knowledge. If there's something I said which is wrong, or something I said or something I did not say, you can add it in the comment section so that we build a large catalog of knowledge on the crude oil and gas resources we have as Ndi Igbo. Till I come your way again, I remain my humble self, Chukandule. So, Ndabani, Deme.